Let me tell you of a place, my son, that flows into the rising sun, a river that runs through me and you. As you grow to tell the tale of the mighty she and the people there that love the place that I call home. Give her.
Hi, Miramichi. Welcome to our very first episode of On the Menu. We are traveling from restaurant to restaurant on the Miramichi, and we are gathering some great recipes and asking chefs and cooks to come and make them for us here on our very own cooking show. What do you think of that, Brian?
I think it's great.
This is Brian Matheson. He's from O'Donoghue's Pub, and he's going to show us a few tricks of the trade and a few very famous O'Donoghu's menu items, and we're going to make them here today. And we're going to test them out and see if they're any good, but I'm sure they are. Of course, today, Brian, we're going to make your world famous seafood chowder. Of course, before we get started on any chowder, we have to make the most important part, is the world famous ciabatta bread that you make in-house right there at O'Donoghu's Pub. Is that correct?
That's right. You need something quality to dip in that chowder.
Absolutely.
Swipe the bowl. Chowder of any quality will require swiping at the end of the bowl.
So I'm not exactly what they would call a seafood man, but I understand a lot of people appreciate seafood. I just don't happen to be one of them. But I've of course worked with you at O'Donoghu's, as we all know. That's and right. We have got rave reviews about this chowder from people all around the world, and we're really excited to learn how to make it today, and for those folks at home to learn how to make it and maybe try their own and go down and try yours again.
Yeah, that's right.
Compare the two.
Yeah.
So Brian, what do you bring to the menu in terms of uniqueness and diversity every year to O'Donoghu's Pub? What's your key feature that you really want to push through?
Well, I'm trying to blend my experience. I've lived in Toronto and Vancouver, and I cooked in these cities and many different restaurants, and they're multicultural cities. So as a result, the restaurants there offer multicultural menus. A lot of them are blends of different cultures, and of course French being at the heart of a lot of the fine cooking, so that's always sort of at the base, and then you take in spices and seasonings from all over the world and put that together into classical preparations, and you've got interesting food. So I'm taking that experience to Miramichi, and we're doing traditional pub food, but with some of these sort of aspects of my experience thrown in there, and that's where the curry comes from. The curry is a traditional British. It's probably one of the most popular dishes in Britain.
Yes. And
that's pub food over there. We're taking it to Miramichi. Seafood chowder is another local favorite, right? And I'm taking some things that I've learned and putting them into this seafood chowder we're offering to people at Miramichi.
Okay.
And they seem to like it.
Well, they do. And I tell you, I'm looking forward to making this bread. So let's.
Yeah, the bread is a traditional Tuscan region of Italy, Italian bread.
Okay.
And the reason I like it is because you don't have to stand there kneading it with your hands for 15 or 20 minutes. You can do it in your mixer, just a stand mixer.
So it's made very quickly,
very
efficiently.
Yeah, the dough is a little more wet than usual bread if you're making baguette or just traditional white bread.
Okay.
And you take it out and just plop it in the middle of your pan, and it kind of sits and flows a little bit, and you just let it rise like that.
Okay.
And it's got a unique texture to it because of this sort of high density of high amount of water.
Okay.
And it's a great bread for soaking up liquids.
Okay.
Because of that, which is why it's great
for chowders.
Great for the chowder, great
Okay.
for the soup and sauces and so on.
Okay. So let's get started here. First thing we do.
The first thing you do is you have to get your yeast activated. This is active dried yeast. You can buy it anywhere, including here.
Although the bread doesn't have to rise that much, you still need the yeast to activate some sort of.
Well, you should get your yeast going. This
Right.
is a good way to make sure the yeast is alive and well, and you feed it. This is a bit of sugar. Just throw maybe a tablespoon of sugar in there.
And we all know the joys of sugar and yeast. Sugar and yeast if you leave it long enough.
Yeah.
You know
Well, that's right. Yeah.
But today we're making bread with it.
The sugar, and if you want to leave out the sugar, you can take a bit of the flour from here.
Okay.
And drop it in there and mix it in.
So what about like artificial?
It's kind of like breakfast for the yeast.
Okay.
Gets it started, gets it awake, live for the day.
Yeah.
Right?
What about artificial sweeteners in this case, Brian? Do they work, or like sugar's like an active ingredient?
Well, yeah, no, not really. If you want to give your bread a little sweetness and you don't want to use the sugar,
By all means, some
sure,
Splenda
little
or
sucralose or something like that.
that you can buy right here at Super Value. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
stick this over the mixer
Okay.
right in there. Yeah. Okay, our water's getting nice and frothy here now. See that most of the yeast is dissolved quite well. Now, if you wanted to take time with this, you could take 20% of this recipe, make it in a bowl, put it aside overnight, and that's what they call a biga. And you use that to continue the next day to start your bread.
Okay.
So next I'll go over, I'll add 2 cups of water, 1 tablespoon of yeast, and a tablespoon of sugar. This is 2 cups of flour.
I just want to turn this mixer on so bad it hurts, Brian. Right? Are we almost ready?
We're almost ready. Don't get too excited.
It is exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Bread is an exercise in patience. You have to wait for it. You can drop that in there. Place. Lock and load.
Okay. Whisk.
No, the dough hook.
Dough hook.
Okay. Here I've got a tablespoon of salt and a cup of buttermilk. Now the buttermilk is in place of what they would call a sourdough starter, which is flour and water that's allowed to be affected, for lack of a better word, with natural yeast from the air. And we'll use that to give flavor. The buttermilk gets lactose bacteria that will give the same similar flavor. We'll let this go and mix.
So now we mixed the flour and with water and yeast and sugar, and now we're gonna put it in the pan and make it all happen, Brian. Right? This is where the magic starts.
That's right. This is a very loose dough, as you see.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but this is the consistency you want. It should be pretty goopy, eh?
So that's like a super thick, almost like a pancake batter, you know? Just
Yeah, well,
just to put it
almost, eh?
to the layman, yeah.
Yeah. Bread is very simple. There's only 4 basic ingredients.
Yes.
But
there's many different kinds and there's many different ways to make it.
Yeah, that's right. And most of the variations come about just by varying the amount of yeast, the kind of yeast, the amount of flour, of course, and the type of flour.
Okay, just to make it easy for you folks at home, this recipe will be included on the story on MaryMachieOnline.com.
That's right.
So
just pull it right in the middle there.
just kind of pull everything together. It doesn't have to be the same size of the pan. We're just making a simple bread here, right, Brian?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Okay, and you leave this aside in a warm place.
Okay, so how hot's the oven that you put that into?
Well, the oven is going to be 425.
425, okay.
Use a convection if you have one.
Right.
It just helps to get a nicer crust.
Okay.
But you don't need it.
Okay. Okay, so we have the bread dough in the pan. You have to let that rise for how long, Brian?
For 1 hour.
For 1 hour. So
Yeah.
we put it in an oven, and it's going to cook at 425 for approximately how long?
Well, for half an hour.
Okay.
Half
right
an
now.
hour will be fine for that.
Okay.
It should approximately double in size. You'll see it raise in thickness, and it'll also spread out because it is pretty loose. So
Okay, all right.
it'll spread out to the sides of the pan.
Okay, so now we're got the bread secure. We want to move on now to our seafood chowder, right, Brian?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, here we go. Okay, Brian, we got the bread is rising. We're almost ready to put that in the oven. Now let's get started on this chowder. Number 1 rule about cooking in the kitchen is that Chopper does the cooking, and and you supply the stuff. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Just joking. So what's the first thing we do, Brian?
Well, we've got a couple of pans here. We want to get some liquid to cook our vegetables in.
Okay.
I've got some vegetable broth here.
Okay.
I've got a PC Organics vegetable broth here.
Wonderful.
I'll throw that in our hot pan.
Nice.
I've got a cup of white wine here.
Okay.
And add that to it too.
So Brian, we've added the liquids to our pan, which consists of some vegetable stock
Yep.
and some white wine.
Yep.
Okay.
Cup of vegetable stock. Half a cup of white wine,
Okay.
and we'll start with that.
And then the vegetables
We'll
go
build
next.
it from here.
Okay.
And,
So we bring this to a boil.
yeah, it'd be good.
Okay.
We're going to need some roux
We're gonna need
to
some roux.
thicken it with.
Okay, now for those that don't know what roux is, Brian, can you explain what roux
Well,
is?
it's a combination of flour and butter. The flour is cooked into the butter,
Right.
and it's a thickening agent. When you add that to a liquid, it kind of binds the liquid
Okay.
together. Now, if you have a gluten allergy, you can just leave this part right out. You can just have a nice brothy seafood chowder here.
Some people like a thick chowder, some people like a thinner chowder.
Yeah, if
All
you want to leave
depends
that
on
all
taste.
together. We're going to make some roux anyway, and we'll have it. We can add it, you know, till we reach the desired consistency.
Okay.
Sprinkle some of this on top here.
And right in there. Of course, you want to stir this.
That's right.
You want to keep it stirred. Make sure that the
Yeah, we'll take
butter
a little
doesn't
while
burn
for the
and
melt.
the flour doesn't
And,
burn in there.
our broth is coming to a boil here, and we'll add this. We've got a mixture of hardly chopped vegetables here: potatoes, carrots, onions, celery. You can raid your garden and put whatever you want in it.
Just to clarify, Brian, who chopped those vegetables?
My apprentice here.
My young apprentice. Okay, here we go. Mmm, fruit is starting to smell really good. Of course, nothing really does smell much better than a big melting blob of butter.
That's right.
So what's the, like for you now, Brian, some people use margarine or some sort of other coagulant here. What's the difference between butter and margarine in terms of cooking?
Well, not much actually. You know, they managed to make margarine that tastes a lot like butter.
Yes.
Margarine, of course, doesn't have the saturated fats.
Right.
But on the other side of it, as we know too, they've kind of started to say that margarine isn't quite as healthy for you as we used to say, and butter isn't quite as bad for you as we used to think. So
Yeah.
it's entirely up to you. There's some people, you know, for other dietary purposes, can't have butter. You know, perhaps they have you know, some kind of
lactose
dairy
intolerance.
intolerances, yeah, that make them want to stay away from it.
But in terms of
It works just as well in making a roux. You can use oil, as a matter of fact. Just
Oh, really?
vegetable oil if you want to, yeah. You know, it saves stepping out to the store if you don't have butter or margarine on hand, but you do have some vegetable oil.
okay, so our butter is melted. We're gonna let that just cook down
Yeah,
just a
let
little
that
bit.
cook. It'll bubble up for a little bit. It's good to let your roux cook for maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes anyway.
Okay, right on.
Now over here, I have a mixture of some seasonings, some aromatics.
So seasonings are very important.
Yes,
Any
they
dish.
are.
I mean, they are the icing on the cake. They are the cherry on the sundae. They are what makes a dish a dish. Right.
That's right.
Okay.
And at
So-
the pub, we make our own. We call it in the kitchen. We call it our seafood seasoning. It's a in-house made lemon pepper.
Okay.
I bought this lemon pepper here in the store,
Okay.
and we can use this instead.
Okay.
So there's a tablespoon of that.
Okay.
There's a teaspoon of thyme, dried thyme,
Okay.
and a couple teaspoons of tarragon, dried tarragon.
Oh, nice.
Very key.
I like the flavor of tarragon. It really lightens the palate and makes
Oh, it does, yeah.
makes the food, the taste of the food really come alive.
That's right, yeah. A bit of a anise accent. And half a teaspoon of white pepper.
I love it.
You can use black pepper too if you like. White pepper is a little more traditional.
Okay, our roux has come to a full boil. I'm just going to give it a stir.
Yeah, that's right.
Not quite down to where we want it yet.
Add a little more flour.
A little more flour, probably better. Dry it up quick.
Yeah, that's right. It should be a little bit solid.
Okay.
About the consistency of Play-Doh.
Okay.
At room temperature.
I've heard many a cooking show or many a cooking show hosts say, I wish you could really have a sense of a smell on TV. And of course,
That's right.
this really does smell delicious.
Yeah, immediately you can smell the herbs.
Okay. We'll just let this boil for a bit and cook for a bit. Okay. So now, what will be our next step here? We're looking for cream, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
At the pub we use 18% cream.
Okay.
If you want to go for a lower fat,
Option.
healthier option, you can go down to you know, milk or 10% cream or
Right.
whatever you like. The dairy is kind of an essential. The dairy taste is an essential in chowder.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think it's just a soup. But anyway,
exactly.
we're using 18% cream.
Yes.
It is diluted because we do have vegetable broth in here,
Yes.
so that brings down the richness a little bit.
Okay. Oh yes, there it is. Now it's starting to look like a chowder.
Yes, that's right.
Looking good. Really smelly. Flavors starting to come together.
Yeah, and now we'll add some seafood perhaps.
So let's just talk about seafood here in Atlantic Canada for a second. Of course, we're here in Miramichi, New Brunswick, which is just adjacent to perhaps one of the best fishing grounds in the world, and that's the Gulf of St. Lawrence and the Grand Banks, and of course the Bay of Fundy to the south of us.
That's right.
But today we've chosen. I mean, seafood chowder you can have, and you can lobster, whatever you need to put in a seafood chowder. You can use any kind of seafood.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah.
But
whatever's on sale.
At the pub,
fresh,
you use whatever's there, whatever's fresh, whatever's in season. So today we've chosen, Brian, some fresh seafood from the fish department here at Super Value in Newcastle. First of all, we got some nice fresh scallops and Atlantic shrimp. You just throw that right in there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
These will all cook at about the same rate.
Yes.
Here we have some whitefish. I believe by looking at it, it looks like halibut to me.
Okay, nice halibut.
Might be red snapper or something. But you know, probably use haddock because we sell pounds and pounds and pounds of haddock every week.
Of course, fish and chips are a staple.
We have salmon on the menu, we have scallops on the menu, we have shrimp. So we use these things that we have on the menu anyway.
Okay, lovely.
We'll throw all this in here. Some Atlantic salmon.
Let's just get this.
Farmed Atlantic salmon.
Atlantic salmon. Let's just get this distributed. Okay, now you cook the seafood. You put it in raw, and it cooks and boils in the mixture here.
Yeah, I prefer to cook it fresh into the chowder as you're going to serve it because.
Releases those essential fish oils right into the chowder.
That's right. All the oils, all the flavor, all the juice from the seafood will come out into the chowder and it's retained right there.
Okay, and of course our roux is now ready. As you can see, it's consistency exactly how played out, and that's our
right.
mixture of roux, and our chowder is ready. We're just going to cover this and let that boil for a second.
We'll let that boil. We'll add the mussels a bit after because they cook pretty quick. You just have to steam them. You know, generally in a boiling liquid, mussels would only take a minute to cook. So we have mussels right here.
So how does one grade a good mussel, Brian? What do you look for when you go to the grocery store and say, look for mussels? What are some good things and what are some bad points about mussels?
Well, you want to make sure they're fresh. And take a look at any package and it'll say, somewhere on it it'll say date packed. So you want that as recent as possible. Right. I know a lot of people get concerned, and I do too, when you look at a mussel and you see that it's open.
Right.
But a lot of the time they're just looking for a bit of moisture. Eh? So if you tap the mussel, you can see that it's closing. So this mussel is still alive.
Wow. So you can actually tap the mussel and it closes?
Yeah, just give it a little tap on the side.
Look at that.
It'll start to close up. See, that one's a little slower, so he's getting a little older, I guess. Eh?
Okay.
So when they're open like that, even just taking them and running them under nice cold water, they'll close up. The ones that are still alive will close up, and you'll know which ones to discard.
All right. So
of course, on the other side of it, once you cook them, if they don't open, don't force the issue. Okay. Go in there with a pair of pliers and try to get into them because
take them out,
they have expired, and the meat inside might not be healthy meat.
So just have yourself a little mussel funeral, put them in the garbage, and just end the day with it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So mussels, very important to make sure they're fresh and alive when you cook them here in the chowder. What about the scale on the shell? Should you wash that and scrub it up before you?
No, but it is good to give them a rinse.
Yes.
We've done this. They do create their own sort of byproducts, right? Their waste products, and that'll get on the outside of the shell, and it doesn't lend the best flavor. So
that's right.
It's good to rinse them off first before you throw them in. Eh?
But the mussel is, of course, with this chowder and the pub menu. This is something you use almost as a garnish, but it's very nice to look at. And
that's right,
nice,
and they're tasty.
Exactly.
Even if you wanted to, you could steam them in the broth and then take them out and remove the mussel itself, put them back in. You know, I know it can be a little difficult getting the meat out of there sometimes right at the dinner tables.
Like I say, right around this point, when the fish starts to cook, that's when I kind of remove myself from the house and I just let people eat their seafood. But this, with the hair gone, it makes all the difference in the world. It really, it makes you look forward to
starting to get a hunger for it.
My mouth is watering and I'm ready to eat, but I'm not going to eat this. I'll maybe cook a hamburger or something for myself. So let's talk about bread, Brian. When are you going to put this bread in the oven? Let's go.
Well, it's starting to pop up here. You can see that it's spread out across the pan.
Let's show the folks at home here.
And it's You see, it's pretty jiggly there, eh?
Okay. So that means it's still a bit wet for oven?
Oh yeah, it's still a bit wet. I mean, we can wait a few more minutes here. You can see there's bubbles of air, carbon dioxide underneath there.
Okay.
The yeast creates the carbon dioxide, and that's what raises it up. The gluten protein in the wheat has been worked by the mixer, and that kind of holds it all together. And yeah, maybe we'll wait just a little bit longer before we throw it in the oven.
Okay, we'll do this all again in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Brian. So we're going to take these beautiful mussels that we harvested here at this is Superstore here in Newcastle, and we're going to put them in a nice boiling pot of seafood chowder. This is probably your last ingredient that you add. Nobody wants an overcooked mussel, right, Brian?
No, they get tough.
That's right. Here we go. Ready?
They get tough if you put them in super cooking.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Very nice. We're just going to stir them in. Get them all integrated within the dish here, right?
That's right. You want them fairly immersed.
Okay.
So they catch the heat.
So we're going to re-lid this sucker.
The quicker they cook, the better.
Absolutely. Okay, now we should have, after mussels are added, O'Donoghue's Pub's Brian Madison's seafood chowder. Brian, I must say, it looks delicious. As you can see, as the people at home can see, our mussels are wide open, ready for us humans to have a little munch. So, I know the potatoes are the perfect consistency, our vegetables are lovely, the smell is really nice, and we are going to get ready to add our roux. Now, this consistency I would find is probably just a little light for my likings.
Yeah, it's quite brothy.
So now that we have
We try to find a middle ground at the pub, you know, where it's not too thick and not too thin.
Right. So right now we have it almost to the consistency of Play-Doh, as we said before.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll just add about 2 or 3
That should do right there, actually, I think. It goes a long way.
Yep.
You stir that in.
And of course, if you like a thinner chowder, you don't have to do the stuff at all. Just a little bit of butter in there would probably do the trick.
Look how smoothed out it is already.
Wow.
It gets an extra glossiness, and that helps the visual
presentation.
appeal. Yeah, yeah. When it hits the table, just look at it and you go, "Oh, it's rich."
All right.
The bubbles get bigger. There we go.
That's very good.
And you just want to let that roux cook in there for maybe 1 minute.
Okay.
And
Really
there you go.
get the flavors throughout the dish.
That's right.
Okay. Very nice. So
At this point, you can probably turn the heat off.
You can turn that heat off.
The heat that's
And just let it-
in the element will.
yeah, just let it
Yeah,
soak
that's
up the natural flavors.
It needs Febreze, hey, when you have a good seafood
Fish chowder, fish, my
You
favorite.
know, really.
Here we go. Let's start talking about bread, Brian. Here we go. Right, Brian. As we say, we know that the chowder is ready to serve. Everything else is ready. All we have to do is get that bread in the oven.
Yeah.
Right.
The bread is rising to the sides of the pan. It is a flat bread, so I've got it in a somewhat high baking sheet here,
Okay.
and it's about to crest the sides here. So if we don't get it in the oven, it's going to be a mess in our hands.
So once again, this is Tuscany ciabatta bread, and we're going to put it in the oven at 425.
That's right.
For approximately 30 minutes.
30 minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Halfway through, I'll check on it. I'll give it a little rotation, maybe dust it with some flour.
Okay.
It'll have a bit of a crust, but it won't be done yet. So,
Okay, I'll put that in for you. Right.
very good.
Pasta viva, rossa mole, I love that bread. I love the bread.
It even looks Italian.
Now,
That.
you can't tell at home, kids, but the aroma coming out this bread is almost unbelievable. It's really, really good. It smells awesome. So our next step, Brian, is to transfer this to the
Yeah, that's
folding
right.
cell, as we say.
There we go. Look at that.
All right, awesome stuff. Wow, that's
Now
good.
I'm going to twist this around sideways to let a little air underneath it,
Okay,
because there's moisture underneath that.
that's right. There's still moisture
Loaf of
there,
bread, so
it
you-
comes out and make
yeah,
your
you
bread
want-
soggy, won't it?
Yeah, it'll make the bread a bit soggy.
Okay, so Brian,
Rolling rack here.
it appears as though we are ready to bowl our one-of-a-kind O'Donoghue's Pub seafood chowder.
Great.
And just tell us a little bit about the important parts of presentation for you, Brian, personally.
Aesthetically appealing. Having things placed in the bowl or placed on the plate attractively is always important, you know. Something I always try to think of when I'm putting a dish on the plate is a little messy for somebody to eat, then I'll change the way it's presented. Based on that, it can look as pretty as you want it to be, but if people end up with the food on their shirt, it ruins the experience immediately, right? Especially in a group of people on a first date.
That's right. Yeah.
Imagine the embarrassment of having a muscle land on your nice new shirt.
So what's that in your pocket, sweetheart? Is that a mussel? Well, yes, it is. So here we go. We have beautiful seafood chowder made fresh in our kitchen, but mostly in the kitchen of O'Donoghue's Pub. There's a fresh ciabatta bread. It's going to go lovely together, and let's call up someone for a taste test. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we can do that.
All right, here we go. Okay. So we're here with Sherry and Heather. They're employees here at the Superstore here in Newcastle. Guys, what do you think of this delicious seafood chowder?
It's very good.
Good.
Very, very good. Delicious.
All right.
Awesome texture.
Success.
Big chunky. Very good.
So guys, remember to get over to O'Donoghue's Pub and get yourself some seafood chowder and all of their other great menu items.
Of a place,
Thanks,
my
guys.
son, that flows into the rising sun, a river that runs through me and you. As you grow to tell the tale of the mighty she and the people there that love the place
Come on,
that I
Ryan.
call home. Give her, you're on the river. Give her, you're on the river.